The summer morning in San Diego began earlier than usual. On the 12th floor of The Grande at Santa Fe Place, a luxury condominium in La Jolla, Linda Anderson could see the azure Pacific Ocean from her large windows, a view that had been her pride since her newlywed days. Sunlight streamed into the modern, predominantly white living room. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, the yacht harbor was shrouded in morning mist, and early joggers passed by on the promenade. "Olivia, you'll be waking up soon, sweetheart." Linda watched her 11-month-old daughter's sleeping face on the baby monitor as she poured water into the electric kettle. At 33, her life seemed to be following the path she'd always dreamed of. She held a position as a senior manager at a major accounting firm, leading her team. And she had a happy home with her loving husband and adorable daughter. With her exceptional numerical sense and calm judgment, Linda had built her career from a young age. She earned her accounting degree from UCSD and passed the challenging CPA exam on her first try. Among her peers, she was known as an exceptionally talented professional who earned her clients' trust. However, behind that peaceful expression, there was always hidden pressure. Another call from Martha. Linda sighed softly at her mother-in-law's name displayed on her smartphone screen. Last night, she had received yet another message expressing concern about the future of children raised by working mothers. Martha's social media was filled daily with posts that seemed to be warnings to modern mothers. It was obvious to everyone that these messages were aimed at Linda. 5 years ago, Linda met John at the tech company where she worked as their accountant. She was instantly captivated by John's sincere character and gentle smile as he worked as a software engineer. They began sharing coffee during breaks and enjoying dinners after work. Those were days when they shared their dreams for the future while watching San Diego sunsets from the office windows. A year later, confident in their mutual respect for each other's careers, they decided to marry. "A girl from a family like yours." The words Martha had uttered during their wedding planning still rang in Linda's ears. Linda came from a middle-class family. Her parents were teachers, and she had earned her CPA credentials through scholarships and student loans. She spent her college years studying late into the night at the library and working part-time on weekends. She believed those struggles had shaped who she was today. Martha, on the other hand, grew up in a wealthy family and devoted herself to raising John as a full-time housewife after marriage. Born into an old La Jolla family, she had made her debut as a debutante and married a man from an equally prestigious background. Her upbringing stood in stark contrast to Linda's. Their different values had created a deep divide from the beginning. Weekend family dinners felt like being on trial. Martha constantly criticized Linda's parenting methods, repeatedly starting sentences with, "in my day." She was particularly critical of Linda's decision to use daycare. Olivia's wake-up sounds came through the baby monitor. Linda hurried to her daughter's room. In the bright nursery with pastel pink wallpaper, Olivia was standing in her white crib, reaching out with both hands, a new trick she'd recently learned. "Good morning, my angel." Linda smiled as she lifted her daughter. Touching Olivia's soft cheeks melted away all her worries. Her large brown eyes and adorable smile were just like John's. "Working today?" Linda turned at her husband's voice to find John standing there, running his fingers through his bedhead hair. Seeing him ready for weekend work reminded her of the importance of their mutual support. Before their marriage, John had chosen to marry Linda despite his mother's opposition. She never forgot the weight of that decision. "Yes, but I'll be back in the afternoon. The daycare is closed on weekends, so we'll have to ask Martha to help." John's expression clouded at those words. He too worried about his mother's interference. However, he understood Linda's desire to maintain her career. Their dual income made it possible to afford this luxury apartment and secure Olivia's future education expenses. It was a practical choice. "All right. I'll try to come home early too." Reassured by her husband's words, Linda carried Olivia to the kitchen. While preparing breakfast, she thought about whether there would come a day when she and her mother-in-law could understand each other. In the kitchen equipped with the latest smart home systems, Linda warmed Olivia's organic baby food while mentally organizing today's schedule. Emergency weekend work. Asking her mother-in-law for help. And family time after returning home. Everything was perfectly planned. Outside the window, San Diego was beginning to be bathed in morning light. No one yet knew that this day would become a turning point that would greatly shift those wishes. As the sea breeze gently caressed the glass windows of the high-rise apartment, a new day was about to begin. Café La Rue's red and white striped awning gleamed brilliantly in the morning light. At this point, no one could have predicted that this scene would become the stage for what was about to unfold. At 7 a.m., Linda's smartphone rang. "Mrs. Anderson, I apologize, but we found a serious issue with TechWave's financial statements." Senior partner James Watson's voice lacked its usual composure. A multimillion-dollar discrepancy had been discovered in the quarterly financial report of their major client, TechWave. It needed to be corrected before the stock market opened on Monday. "I understand. I'll head there right away." Linda's hand trembled slightly as she ended the call. Saturday. Weekend childcare facilities required prior day reservations and didn't accept last-minute applications. Her friends were away for the summer vacation season. Babysitting agencies couldn't accommodate such short notice on weekends. There was only one option. "Martha. Good morning. I have an urgent request." A moment of silence on the other end. "Oh, Linda. Work again." Martha's voice carried its usual sarcastic tone. The theme song of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills played in the background. "Career women like you just don't understand the challenges of raising children." "Well, I suppose I'll have to help." Linda swallowed a deep sigh. Arguing wouldn't be wise in this situation. "Please. I'll definitely be back in the afternoon." "All right. But there's a condition." Martha's voice suddenly brightened. "I'll watch her my way. Your modern parenting methods aren't good for Olivia's emotional development." The clock showed 7:30 a.m. Linda rushed to shower and change into a navy pantsuit. As she was putting up her hair, the intercom rang. Perfect hair and makeup, an elegant Chanel tweed jacket. Martha's appearance was impeccable despite the early hour. "Oh, Olivia. Grandmother's angel." Martha lifted her granddaughter and nuzzled her cheek. The gesture seemed calculated, as if for a social media post. Meanwhile, she didn't even glance at Linda. "Olivia's milk is in the refrigerator." "Yes, I know. I raised 3 children myself. Martha gracefully sat on the sofa and took out her smartphone. In my day, we didn't raise children in such cramped apartments. We had a house with a garden, and I had a maid and 2 nannies to help. Linda nodded silently as she placed a note with Olivia's daily schedule on the kitchen counter. Her morning snack time and nap time are written here. Such modern schedule management will only spoil children. Martha had already opened Facebook and started drafting a post beginning with, "Young mothers these days." The clock showed 8:15 a.m. Linda quickly kissed Olivia and headed for the elevator. "Thank you for watching her." There was no response. Martha was absorbed in taking selfies with Olivia for her Instagram story. High up in the Grande at Santa Fe Place. On a Saturday morning with forecasts exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit, Martha Anderson was playing the role of the stylish grandmother against the backdrop of the luxurious view. Likes were accumulating rapidly on her smartphone screen. Behind Martha, who was engrossed in her posts, Olivia was busy practicing her newly learned skill of pulling herself up to stand. On the 12th floor balcony, the wind from the ocean blew like an omen of the tragedy about to unfold. Café La Rue's awning sparkled with vivid blue and white stripes in the morning sun. No one could have known that it would soon become the stage for destiny. At 11:30 a.m., Linda returned to the apartment earlier than planned. As she parked her car, an uneasy feeling crept into her chest. No one was visible on the 12th floor balcony where they should have been visible. In the elevator, Mrs. Thompson, who lived on the same floor, looked at Linda with concern. "Mrs. Anderson, there's been something at your place." While pressing the button for the 12th floor, Linda felt her heartbeat intensifying. The elevator's digital display slowly counted up. 9th floor. 10th floor. 11th floor. Then the 12th floor. When the doors opened, a baby's cry echoed through the hallway, but it was just the sound from a parenting show Martha was watching. "I'm home." As Linda unlocked the smart lock at the entrance, an unusual silence enveloped the apartment. Martha's Hermes Birkin bag sat on the living room sofa, and there was still warm tea on the table. But there was no sign of Olivia, no sight, no sound, no presence. "Martha? Where's Olivia?" Looking around the living room, Linda found Martha standing uneasily by the kitchen counter. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled, and sweat beaded on her forehead. Her expensive tweed jacket had been cast aside, and her makeup was beginning to smear. "Oh, Linda. You're back already." Martha's voice trembled. Her hand holding the smartphone shook slightly. "Where is Olivia?" At Linda's question, Martha momentarily averted her eyes. "Well, it was hot, so I let her cool off on the balcony." Those words drained the blood from Linda's face. The balcony. The 12th floor balcony where gusts of wind blew through. Linda rushed there at full speed. The familiar pink baby playpen was on the floor. But Olivia wasn't there. "This can't be happening." Martha's scream-like voice echoed behind them. The pale-faced mother-in-law leaned against the balcony railing, staring into empty space. Linda desperately searched the balcony. Inside the playpen was Olivia's favorite stuffed animal. Next to it, Martha's smartphone. The screen showed an unposted Instagram draft. The timestamp was 11:15 a.m. Martha's social media accounts had suddenly gone silent right after that. The police, we need to call the police. As Linda's trembling hand reached for her smartphone, commotion began to rise from below. The voices were coming from the direction of Café La Rue. Martha collapsed to her knees, unconsciously clawing at her expensive silk blouse. She could no longer play the role of the perfect lady or strike elegant poses for social media. "It's my fault, all my fault." Those words echoed off the high-rise impersonal walls. Linda tried to look down, but the balcony's design created a blind spot directly below. However, the voices were growing louder. Excited voices, surprised voices, and relieved voices. "We need to get downstairs," Linda instinctively shouted. Martha weakly stood up and staggered after her. They both headed for the emergency stairs. There was no time to wait for the elevator. Linda bounded down the stairs, taking 2 or 3 steps at a time. Martha's heels clacked irregularly behind her. At that moment, the scene Linda had seen that morning flashed through her mind. Café La Rue's blue and white striped awning. Just a little further to the first floor. Linda's heart was beating so hard it felt ready to explode. Her hand reached for the emergency exit door. What awaited on the other side? The cheers were definitely getting louder. The moment she opened the door, San Diego's scorching sun blinded them both. Under the blazing sun at ground level, as Linda and Martha burst through the emergency exit door, an astonishing sight met their eyes. At Café La Rue's terrace, a small body slowly sliding down from the blue and white striped awning. And a white-haired woman waiting below with arms wide open. Seconds later, Olivia was safely in the woman's arms. Applause erupted from the customers gathered at the cafe's terrace. "Thank goodness, thank goodness." The white-haired woman gently embraced Olivia. She was Carol, a former preschool teacher who now lived nearby and was a regular customer. Next to her, the cafe owner, Tony Moretti, was checking the tension of the awning. The daily maintenance paid off. Tony expressed relief in his Italian-accented English. The commercial-grade latest model awning had cushioned the baby's fall with just the right tension, guiding her safely into Carol's arms. "Olivia." Linda rushed to her child and took the baby from Carol. Olivia wasn't crying, rather, she seemed to be enjoying herself. At 11 months old, she didn't seem to understand what she had just experienced. Meanwhile, Martha stood frozen at the scene. Her luxury brand attire and perfect makeup were now disheveled. She could no longer play the role of the stylish grandmother or immerse herself in social media posts. I. As Martha repeated words that wouldn't form, Carol slowly approached her. "It's all right, Martha. The baby is safe." At those gentle words, tears began streaming from Martha's eyes. "I was so focused on social media, left her alone on the balcony." All eyes turned to Martha. But there was no condemnation in those gazes. Rather, they were looks of sympathy and understanding. "Martha." Linda stepped forward, holding Olivia. "Is this what you call traditional parenting?" Those words were surprisingly gentle. Not anger or blame, but a quiet questioning. Martha's knees gave way, and she sank to the ground. Her pursuit of perfection. Her imprisonment in the ideal grandmother image on social media. Everything was now exposed. This catastrophe was caused by my arrogance. As Martha confessed through tears, Carol stayed by her side. I'm a mother who raised 3 children too. Nobody can be a perfect parent. The surrounding customers nodded at those words. Various generations of mothers had gathered at the terrace seats. What's important is watching over them with love. Maria, Tony's wife, brought warm coffee. She too had raised 4 children. And sometimes, it's important to ask for help. At Carol's words, Martha slowly raised her face. Linda. I'm truly sorry. I was wrong. She continued with a trembling voice. For constantly criticizing your parenting methods. I'm so sorry. Linda crouched down in front of Martha while holding Olivia. From now on, let's try to understand each other. Just then, sirens approached. The ambulance and police that someone had called were arriving. However, there was no longer any emergency. It was the community's bonds that saved this child. The gathered people quietly agreed with Carol's words. 1 month later, on a Saturday. At Café La Rue's terrace, the regular customers were relaxing as usual. A new scene unfolded under the blue and white striped awning. Olivia, look, copy Grandma. Martha was teaching her granddaughter how to eat Italian gelato. Next to them, Carol watched warmly while knitting. How's my special tiramisu? Maria brought over a new dessert creation. She had recently begun teaching Martha authentic Italian home cooking. Linda and her husband John watched the scene together. Martha's smartphone was no longer for social media posts but for recording Olivia's growth. Would you like more coffee? Tony offered his usual blend. He had recently become a member of the building's safety management committee and had begun working on improving the apartment's childcare environment. Thank you, Tony. Weekend brunch had become a new family tradition. The aroma of barista-brewed coffee, freshly baked croissants, and the fresh breeze from the ocean. Hey, Linda. Martha called out with an unusually serious expression. I'm thinking of studying early childhood education at the community college. Linda smiled gently at those words. The awning still swayed gently in the breeze today. What was once the stage of tragedy had become a place for deepening family bonds. Under San Diego's sunlight, a new story was quietly beginning to unfold. On the terrace overlooking La Jolla's cityscape, understanding and love across generations were truly taking root. Martha's transformation was a small miracle born from the warmth of those around her. And just like the awning that day, they would continue walking forward, supporting each other through new days ahead. Now then, I made today's lunch myself. Martha announced proudly. There was no longer any pretense or vanity there. Only pure love for her family gently radiated through.